And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gym in the Crypto episode 650. That is right. Today is Friday, February 5th, 2021, and I'm King.
And I'm Bitcoin Zay, and we are here to bridge the gap between cryptocurrency and the community, Monday through Friday at 10-ish.
Today is definitely a 10-ish, actually an 11-ish day, because we have a very special guest on today, welcoming Jonathan Chester, the CEO of BitWage. And we will talk about his bio here in a second. Top stories of the day: Nigerian central bank official bans banks from servicing crypto clients. Billionaire Bitcoin investor backs away from California governor bid. And last but not least, hacker steals $2.8 million from Yearn Finance, proving blockchain's hackable. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and go over these cryptocurrency prices we love to talk about.
Oh, yeah. So let's get into the prices for today. Bitcoin is at $38,113, up 3.5%. Ethereum at $1,736, passing its all-time high, is up 9% today. Even Ripple at 44 cents is pumping at 12.5%. Stellar at 35 cents is up 9%. Chainlink at 26.41 is up 11%. Litecoin at $155 is up 6.4%. And last but not least, EOS at 317 is up 4.5%. So a lot of green today, a lot of coins pushing forward. And like we said before, we've had a good mixture of green and red, but going forward, it seems as though we are starting what people call alt season, but Bitcoin is still king.
Yeah, Bitcoin is king, but you are not lying. It's all types of stuff pumping from what I saw yesterday. But hey, beyond anything, these top stories and prices of the day, we have a very special guest. We are welcoming CEO of BitWage, Jonathan Chester. Just to give you some background on Jonathan, he is the founder and president of BitWage and a contributor on Forbes for all things Bitcoin and blockchain related. Jonathan's been in the Bitcoin industry as an early adopter since 2013. Him and Bitcoin Zay might have known each other avatars and didn't know it. He's been running BitWage the entire time, the most popular payroll and invoicing platform built on Bitcoin. BitWage thus far has performed over $100 million in transactions. That's right, $100 million in transactions with 50,000 users based in over 100 countries. BitWage enables anyone to receive part of their wages in Bitcoin, stable coins, and other cryptos on a global scale. This service also enables companies to offer Bitcoin, payroll, and 401k benefits. That's right. And of course, last but not least, this is to give you an idea of some of the places Jonathan has been featured at. He's been an entrepreneur. Of course, we already mentioned Forbes, Financial IT. He's consulted members of the European Parliament. We got our own Andreas Antonopoulos in here right now, people, regarding the regulation of blockchain industry and Dutch banks and regulations at the Amsterdam Institute of Finance. He's keynoted summits, spoken at conferences such as the Paris FinTech Forum, Viva Technology, Transact 15, and Inside Bitcoin. So again, we have a subject matter expert of all things Bitcoin and blockchain here, as well as getting paid in it. One of the biggest things we always get asked. So again, let's give a warm round of applause to Jonathan Chester, BitWage CEO.
Oh, yeah. Glad to have
How you like that
John.
intro, huh? I mean, listen, I can't do any better.
I like it.
Thanks for being with us today, Jonathan.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
I guess one of the first and, of course, earliest questions everyone want to know is, how did you get involved in Bitcoin?
Yeah, of course. So, as you said, I got started in 2013. And what I was doing back then, I was working at Oracle. I was working at sales. And I don't know if you've ever worked at sales at Oracle, but it's a pretty mind-numbing experience. And so what I was doing on my downtime is I was just researching new technologies that were out there. And I came across a TED Talk that was about the future of money. And about half of that episode was dedicated to Bitcoin. And, I found it quite interesting. It talked about efficiencies with cross-border payments. It talked about banking the unbanked. It talked about financial sovereignty, right? And these things were all very, very interesting to me. So I went down the rabbit hole for about a month, and I came out this obsessed Bitcoin guy. And at the time, I think Bitcoin was maybe around $200. And to me, I felt like I was late to the game, right? $200 Bitcoin, late to the game. and that was because, there were big players already out. Satoshi was not even there anymore by the time I got in. But in any case, I came out, I was this obsessed Bitcoin guy. And people at Oracle were thinking, okay, well, we got to connect this guy with his other obsessed Bitcoin guy, because these are two weirdos. They should be in a corner talking to each other. And we basically ended up connecting, and both of us were entrepreneurial. He was technical. And we decided, okay, well, let's quit our boring jobs and work on something in crypto. And, we quit our jobs in June. We launched BitWage in July. This was of 2014. And we came across the idea of BitWage because at the time, there wasn't anything really other than Bitcoin. The smart contracts, the concept existed, but Ethereum was maybe a white paper by the time we launched. But the idea generation came before that, and we were just looking at Bitcoin, right? What happens in Bitcoin? Well, we had exchanges for people to buy. We had wallets for people to hold. We had merchant processors for people to spend. But once those merchants had Bitcoin, there was no way for that to go back to the user. So there's actually not a system, a product that allowed the financial loop of Bitcoin to be closed and have a full circle, right? So Bitcoin could not exist in its entirely in its own industry, in its own system. So we decided, okay, let's close the financial loop. Let's be the first to do this, and let's do that through Bitcoin Payroll, basically ways for companies to pay employees, freelancers, contractors, whatever, with their crypto. So that was the original idea, and this morphed over time. And now we have two different products. We have a company product where the company signs up, they fund it with whatever they have to fund it, right? We're talking bank wires, ACHs, credit cards, cryptocurrency. We're the most flexible in terms of funding. We're also the most flexible in terms of paying out. The workers choose, they want Bitcoin, they want dollars, they can have various local currencies, various stable coins, cryptocurrencies, and what have you. So a lot of flexibility on both sides. And then what we also found early on is that companies were actually a little bit scared to do this. It wasn't easy to find a company in 2013 or 2014 that was willing to pay their employees in Bitcoin.
A criminal. We got a criminal on the list in here.
Hey man, hey, I tried to get my company at the time on BitWage. They just laughed me out the room. So
yeah. So you guys know. So what we did is we launched a second product, which is directly to the person receiving the money. So they sign up, they get a direct deposit account. We have direct deposit accounts in the US, in the EU, and the UK currently. So any companies can fund from those countries to the accounts. And then the worker can give that to any employee, any company. And the worker doesn't even have to be in those countries. We have workers who are in like Brazil and Argentina, or in like the Philippines, or in like Kenya. And, we'll talk about this later, but a couple in Nigeria. And you just, as long as you're getting paid from like a US, UK, EU company, you give them this direct deposit account, they fund it, and then you tell us, I want Bitcoin, I want stable coin, I want my local currency, and we help you get it.
So the process is on your end, on the back end, is fairly, for you all, you've made that process streamlined, right?
Yeah,
it's fairly efficient for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's very efficient. So it scales extremely well. So there's no, we don't have a scaling issue. We're processing millions of dollars every month. So it's working just fine.
Well, this is actually a cool interview that you hear, because again, we have, so shout out to our crypto warriors. There's all our warriors in the chat, and give them some quick shout outs. Antonio, Tony Nolly, Fumble the Face, Quarter Crawler, Gervais Wright. Gervais says, been with BitWage for 2 years. Jonathan and Pablo have created a great service. There we go. Woe Be Easy, Robert Kelly, Paradigm Audio. There we go. Fumble the Face said, I've been thinking about asking my employer about this also. Glad to hear it also applies to UK where I am. I do expect my employees to not understand, but I'll try. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We've had a lot of people. I think Ken Bozak has mentioned he got paid in BitWage years ago. And as you said, we'll talk about Nigeria, but just right now, what's the educational piece you can tell employees right now who want to get paid in BitWage or in Bitcoin or whatever stable coin, our listeners? What would you tell them to say to their employers who have no clue what Bitcoin is or if they know, they're not down and about offering BitWage?
Sure. Yeah. So if your employer is, there's no way that your employer is going to do this, right? Let's say you work at Facebook, right? And there's just no way you're going to get Facebook to do this. You sign up to our worker product, you get the direct deposit account. You don't actually even have to tell your HR that they're paying you in Bitcoin. You just say, hey, normally I get paid to my checking account. But what you might not know is that most payroll systems allow you to have two different payroll payouts. So you can go and say, I want, normally it's like, I want 80% in my checking, 20% in my savings account. But in this scenario, instead of having in your savings account, it would be into your BitWage account, which would then turn into your Bitcoin account, which is better than a savings account, in my opinion, right? Yeah. So you use that same thing. So you get 80% of your paycheck into your dollar account, 20% into the BitWage account. And then on BitWage, you can even change that even more, right? You could say, I want 100% Bitcoin. Maybe it's super volatile. I only want 50% of that to be Bitcoin, right? And you can change that per payroll period. And then you just never have to talk to your HR people again. So it's super simple. But maybe your company is crypto curious, right? Maybe they watched Michael Saylor's thing yesterday, and they're like, oh, I want to know how I can be more exposed to Bitcoin, how I can be more innovative, more visionary here. And so, obviously Michael Saylor has the benefit of, let's get Bitcoin on the balance sheet, right? So to get exposure to that, to hedge against the dollar. But additionally, being able to offer, the ability for employees to get paid in Bitcoin is another avenue, right? It not only gets you lifted, because people in the crypto community are just going to talk about you if you do this, right? I mean, people just talk about it. If you make a noise about it, people will talk about it. And it attracts people from the ever-growing crypto community. I mean, I think there was a survey that said like 6% of people in the U.S. are crypto, are Bitcoin advocates or Bitcoin interested. So that's actually pretty high. And we see when people sign up, around 10% of employees that are enrolling from companies. So it could be even higher than that survey said. And so, it's a way to differentiate yourself. I think in the future, there are going to be two benefits that are going to be required by companies: the ability to offer remote work and the ability to allow their employees to get paid in Bitcoin. So if you're already doing that, you're gonna ride that wave and be more competitive in the future from a hiring perspective as a company.
Oh yeah, and I definitely love that you stated earlier in 2013 you thought you were late. I did too. I was buying at 200. I tell people all the time, I'm looking at these guys that bought at $1.10. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I missed a 200x. Let me wait for a dip. Imagine if I did that. So I'm glad you stated that. But one question I wanted to ask is something I've been getting a lot of lately is, what are BitWage's 401k services for people who want to have their employer match it and to sort of use that for a long-term savings account?
Sure. Yeah. So for outside of our, and I'm just going to make a comparison because there's a big difference between our 401k and our non-401k. So our 401k promotes more like financial sovereignty. There's no custody element. You bring your own wallet to us. We want you to store your own keys. I mean, you could always use a custodial wallet, but at least we're encouraging you to learn more about being financially sovereign. So we have no custody on any crypto on that. 401k is a little bit different. 401k, the company has to onboard. So you can't just like have a 401k and like plug this in. Your company has to actually say, we want to allow Bitcoin to be offered in the 401k. And there's a lot of regulatory components to this, because it's not just about having a technology, it's also about having it inside of the policy documents of the company. The company actually has to change their trust 401k policy documents to say, now we're allowing Bitcoin to be inside of our 401k. And then on top of that, they have to work with us to then enable that to happen. So once your company does offer this, then you can basically get access to Bitcoin inside of your 401k. So for a solo 401k, you're like a solo entrepreneur. Right now, well, you can actually give you direct trade access into Gemini inside of your 401k. So you would basically be able to trade directly on Gemini, which is pretty cool because, I mean, if you're someone who's trying to buy and sell the trades, the dips and the highs, you're not getting hit with taxes, right? When you do that, this is kind, in my opinion, this is like the visionary thing here, is instead of like, oh, I'm selling ETH because I want to buy on the 10% dip, but actually I have to pay 20% on long-term capital gains. You don't have to worry about that anymore, right? And I think that's sort of the big visionary value of this whole thing. Of course, in order for us to do it for a bigger company, this is kind of in beta. More components have to be built out, and this is because on a regulatory perspective, the Gemini account has to be created on like the company level. So there needs to be some work done to be able to make it individual per employee. So that's where we're at with that.
So yeah, with that being said, so Jiu-Jitsu Crypto E said, I'm looking into us paying the employees with Bitcoin. So to start, should I bring up this with the company human resources or payroll? I think they're asking.
Yeah. So if it's a smaller company, probably it's like finance that actually cares about this. If it's a bigger company, then you would probably do, I feel like payroll is a subset of HR.
That's what I was thinking when I was asking the question.
So normally the question is it HR or finance, right? So a smaller company, it's actually finance that's making the decision. For a bigger company, it'll be, it all depends on who the decision maker are, but head of HR or finance, sometimes it's even the CEO.
Oh, right? They're saying UPS, pardon me. UPS is the company. So UPS human resources or payroll.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's UPS,
probably don't even tell them.
Yeah, probably you want to sign up with the direct deposit account and then just give them the direct deposit account and you tell that to your HR person, is how you would do that. And you'd say, I want 80% this and 20% that, or 90-10 or whatever you want, that way. Or you could be crazy and go full crypto, right? And get rid of your bank account.
Oh yeah, full crypto, baby.
We'll toss it back over to Isaiah after this quick question from Antonio. He's actually one of our in-house moderators, originally from the UK. He's traveling around the islands, different islands now with his crypto money. But he's saying Strike is now doing a similar thing. They're allowing people to receive Bitcoin from their wages. So my question is, do you have plans to add Lightning Network payments on BitWage as well?
Sure. Yeah. So here's the thing that I'm worried about with Lightning, actually, is that payroll is too much amount for you to put onto Lightning, because there's a lot of liquidity issues. I want to offer Lightning. I'm actually scared to introduce Lightning to people who don't understand it, because people might think, oh, like Lightning is the future, and so I should get my entire wage on Lightning. And then they get it, and then they don't have a channel open with anyone else, and they're stuck with their entire payroll on a channel just between BitWage and that user, and then they can't actually like spend it, and they have a liquidity issue. So I'm actually actively talking to Lightning people to figure out what is the best way to do this. What is the best way to introduce people to Lightning with their paycheck? I think that we would probably do something where we actually limit the amount that can be on Lightning. I know with Strike, you can only do like $1,000 a week or something like that. So they have limits, and it's because of this, right? So I'm trying to figure out how to do it so that people don't accidentally put too much money and sort of have to pay additional fees to get it off of Lightning to use their money. And I haven't figured that out, but I'm talking with like L&D and like, some other Lightning companies, and my friend's Giacomo Zucco, he's kind of advising me on it. So I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, I will say your quick answer to answer that and your honesty is both refreshing, because again, this is what we try to tell people who listen to our show. Like, this is what we want out of the crypto community, is like, you can have CEOs and founders come and be normal, but like, hey, we don't know yet. We're trying to figure it out. We see it too. We're working on it. And like, sometimes what we see, especially from the Wall Street crowd, they're not going to answer that question with honesty and truth. They're going to give you that roundabout answer. So I will say we appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. I would like to note, though, that a big difference for us is that we have no custody at all. So so I view Strike as like a competitor to Venmo. Really, that's like really what they're trying to do. They're a bank account. You use their app. They have a deposit. They have a withdrawal. You get dollars deposited into the account, and you can happen to withdraw that into a Bitcoin wallet. We're different than that because we're purely servicing the payroll use case. So you put in your wallet already. You don't have to do any sort of withdrawal or anything. The funds go directly into your account, and you never think about it. You never touch it, and there's no limits at all. And it's all purely payroll based. And you choose the percentage that you want, fiat or crypto, to go directly to your account, right? So you don't do anything per payroll. You're able to just set your preference of what you want in terms of your percentage for each paycheck, and there's no limits on it. But I think that what Strike is doing is pretty cool. But the way I see it is, it's going to be like the cross-border Venmo. That's gonna,
and Venmo got that tap on the shoulder today, so we don't know how long they'll be around in the crypto business.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. And I want to say, following up with the Lightning question, would it be possible to introduce that to the service industry of people who get tips? Because usually with tips, they're not doing over 1,000 a week, and they may be able to access the Lightning network. Do you think that would be possible in the future? Maybe a feature distinctly for service workers who receive tips, and they may be able to have a Lightning option?
Yeah. So the way that I'm thinking about it is some sort of like, you couldn't get your entire paycheck. You get like some maximum amount in Lightning. And then I'm also thinking about almost recommending like certain like routing nodes, like wallets that are connected to certain routing nodes. So you already have like liquidity when we send it, and probably what it would really be is us just sending a Bitcoin transaction to that, and then that's it, and then that wallet puts it on Lightning for them, so that the user themselves doesn't have to like put it on Lightning themselves. But we would probably not do a direct Lightning, because one of the problems again is that we are only paying out. People are not sending Bitcoin to us. So when we create a channel, the Bitcoin will go from us to the other side and will never come back to us. And there'll be no way to come back to us because every single channel will be empty on our sides. So we can't route it. There'll be no way for us to route the Bitcoin back to us to someone else. So when we do it, we want to make sure that they get Lightning in a way where they have liquidity on their channels, so that they can actually use it. And I think that's important for me, that people will be able to continue to use it on Lightning once they get paid their payroll in it.
Thanks.
No, not good. I was gonna say I'm seeing a lot of great comments come in or whatever. And again, I'm trying to listen to you. I'm reading the comments because I'm trying to get this information as well. Everybody's definitely excited in the comment section. Shout out to a Black Crypto, Fumble the Face thing. I said Sergeant Crypto, Crypto Q, Too Rich to Miss, Dr. Stephen Carter, Clarence Dennison. So 2 questions we have for a couple of people essentially is, will it work with QuickBooks and small businesses or businesses with revenues, anywhere under $200,000 to $300,000?
Yeah, it works with all sorts of businesses. It works with QuickBooks. And I guess there's 2 parts to that, because QuickBooks has like a payroll function. So yeah, like if you did the direct deposit, you could put it into there. The other question might be like, how would a company do it? So a company can sign up, and if they were to do it with QuickBooks, the way that they would do it is they would basically set a net deduction on the paycheck per employee, and then every payroll that the QuickBooks or whatever payroll system will come out with like a report that says like, this is how much of that net deduction, which would be like 20% for Bitcoin, basically, for each user, for each employee. And they take that report, they give that to us, and then they fund us. And then we use that to pay out, the 5, the 10, the 300, the 500, the 1,000 employees or what have you, that want this. And the good thing for the company is they don't, again, even when they're doing this, they don't touch Bitcoin, which means they don't have to deal with taxes. They don't have to deal with like, what is a public key? What if someone wants to change their public key? Oh my God, am I sending the money to like some random person that I don't even know, right? So we take care of all of that risk involved with crypto for them. And then they get reports, which they can, consolidate with QuickBooks. as well as the individual, which they can consolidate with whatever tax software they might need when eventually they need to figure out their cost basis and sell, you know, at some point in the future.
And speaking of QuickBooks, unless they change anything, I want to make sure I throw them over under the bus and reverse and drive forward and reverse and drive forward twice over. I say that because in 2017, we had volume going on QuickBooks, and just because of the name, crypto was in our name. They found out we were a crypto company, and immediately, no warning, not even a full 24 hours, get off our platform. We don't do anything with. And then I come to find out, I kept doing some digging and research. I'm not, hey, you playing my money. I'm not going to just, okay, you know, I'm giving calls and emails. Come to find out, they are backed by Chase Bank. Didn't know that. And Chase Bank at the time was not doing anything. Remember 2017, Bitcoin is fraud. So yeah, we were kicked off of the QuickBooks platform in 2016, 2017. So I definitely don't even want them to see them back in the Bitcoin or crypto conversation or narrative, because literally they told us, hey, you got crypto, you got cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in the name. We're not doing nothing to do with it. So hopefully they change their tune, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I would be okay if they used us to offer Bitcoin payroll.
I hope they do.
I hope they do. Let's go to BitWage.
Just for you,
standard. The BitWage standard. Let's do it.
The BitWage standard. There it is. What you got, Bitcoin Zay?
Oh yeah. So as far as BitWage's services for payroll, HR, all of that is great. Are there any opportunities for employment at BitWage?
Employment at BitWage.
At BitWage, yes.
Yeah. So we just hired a couple people, but I at the moment I don't think that we are still looking for people. I'm happy to see resumes. Maybe that'll change in like 6 months. I mean, things are doing really good for us right now. I mean, we just to give you an idea, in the for 2017 and 2018, you know, we were mostly stable, but we weren't growing like crazy. And then in 2020, in the beginning of COVID, when everyone was losing their jobs and no one knew what was going on, we saw like a 25% drop in our volume. But by the end of the year, we basically doubled from that low. So things are really starting to heat up. I think Bitcoin payroll is really becoming quite popular.
Yes.
And it's also worth noting that there's a big international use case for our system. So a large portion of the people who are getting paid are actually like people who are in like Latin America or the Philippines or India, who use this as a way to do cross-border. And then it turns out that, you know, locally the price of Bitcoin is higher, so they sell it at a premium locally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice.
All right, we're gonna hop into these stories in a moment, but a couple of quick ones. First, I want to point out, I'm glad you mentioned this, because it was a question, but you already mentioned it. I want to highlight this again. They don't custody your crypto, everyone. So again, the way they're doing it, you have your own wallet, you have your own cryptocurrency. They're not holding it to you, because that was going to be one of my questions. What happens if BitWage disappears? Well, there won't be a problem because you have your own crypto. Plus, they're doing great work, so I don't see them disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, we literally don't hold anyone's crypto at all. Zero. We hold zero of people's crypto. So
let's give a hand clap.
We hold zero of people's dollars.
Non-custodial wallets.
That's why I got to highlight that, people. Like, they're doing this. Is what we mean by doing the right thing in the crypto space. Jonathan could very easily have his thing set up so it's like, oh, we have to hold your crypto, people. We got this magical reason why we need to hold your crypto at our accounts, but he doesn't do that. He's like, we don't even need to hold it, people. So again, hand clap for that. That's super cool. And then Timothy, what is it? I just saw Timothy Grigsby, one of our warriors here, said, where is BitWage obtaining the Bitcoin? Gemini?
So I don't, we work with multiple exchanges. There are a few exchanges and OTC people that we work with. I don't like to mention it because I don't want people to trade against us, because that's bad for our users, right?
No, for sure. You don't have to. He asked the question.
Yeah.
Timothy, he said, if you have enough, he might get it from you. All right, so jumping to the top story of the day. Speaking of Bitcoin, where to get it from, how popular it's getting. Nigerian central bank official banned banks from servicing crypto clients. That is right. We said this would come one day. Nigeria decided to throw the first stone. Bitcoin may be officially banned there. Bitcoin Zay, what's going on with this story as I share it?
Oh, yeah. So the Central Bank of Nigeria has placed a ban on all regulated financial institutions from providing services to crypto exchanges in the country. And this is just as egregious as the China bans we saw in 2016 and 17. And they actually issued a letter, which we'll read here, a portion of it, where it says the Central Bank of Nigeria circular of January 12, 2017, which cautioned deposit money banks, non-bank financial institutions, and other financial institutions and members of the public on the risk associated with transactions in cryptocurrency refers. So apparently in this, they basically refer back to, we need to protect you. We need to keep you from the risk associated with it. They're scammers. They're going to take your money. When in all actuality, this is just a power play by the central bank in order to make sure Bitcoin adoption is either controlled or stifled. And we know that Nigeria is still #1 in terms of search interest for Bitcoin and #3 in total Bitcoin volume on exchanges like Paxful. So Nigeria is a huge country for Bitcoin, and this news is very egregious. I hate that this happens. And also, Bitcoin was used to fund a lot of political and social groups during the End SARS movement. So I think the mixture of that, of course, with the coming, I believe, wave of Bitcoin adoption, this is very egregious by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
And what's crazy is we just talked about this yesterday, saying, hey, we looked at arbitrage opportunities back in the day in Nigeria, in Africa, the continent of Africa, or some of the places there were one of the places we were looking at. And it's crazy to see this story the next day. But I said it before, I'll say it again. I think especially when you see all these international stories about Venezuela, what they're doing with crypto, Iran, or what they're trying to do and all this, this is setting precedent for what the US wants to do. It was in 2016, I'll never forget, Bank of America sat me down when I walked into a branch because they wanted to figure out why I was using my hard-earned salary I earned from the military to buy Bitcoin. Like, wow. That's when I knew this is real. I have a bank manager spending his time with a young 20-something-year-old asking him why is he spending his money on Bitcoin. So I think this is setting precedent. This is a central bank trying this out in Nigeria to see, what is going to be the response. Can it even work? Et cetera, et cetera. And then I think we may possibly see some sort of that at some level here. I don't know. If you haven't registered your wallet, maybe all your cryptocurrency is illegal. I don't know. But with stories coming out like this, and then Jonathan, I know you all have this international presence. You all will continue to grow. How does this affect your business? And in general, how do you look at this? I mean, from a regulation point of view, like how are you looking at this?
So, a lot of people say that they don't like regulation. And I say that I don't like bad regulation, but regulation in itself is okay because it's not banning, right? This is not regulation. This is straight up banning Bitcoin, right? And everyone knows Bitcoin is a honey badger. It's just going to keep moving. Just going to keep going. People are going to keep using it. I mean, probably Paxful will continue to work if you understand how that exchange works. I don't think that what they did will actually shut Paxful down. It's just going to bring more users to Paxful, right? It's very hard. It's going to be very hard for an organization to actually do that. And the problem with doing something like this is, the Nigerian bank could do something smarter, which would be like, let's put like a 1% tax on this or something, right? Instead of full out banning it, because then they can actually make money doing this, and instead of pushing everything to the darker side, where they just completely don't have any control over what's going to happen, and it's gonna be more of a wild west of what's going out there. But Bitcoin will continue, right? I mean, there are sort of these peer-to-peer and decentralized kind of exchanges that exist, that will continue to exist. For us, I mean, we do service some customers in Nigeria, albeit it is hard sometimes for us to actually like onboard people in Nigeria. But I think that, with services like ours, people who are servicing from Nigeria, legitimate, freelancers who are doing like software development, doing work for like the US or the UK, they'll get paid. And they'll probably get, they'll get paid in Bitcoin or stable coins or something. And then they'll figure out how to get it locally because there's such a premium there, right? And the premium will just get higher, which is just going to create a bigger incentive for people to do this. So around the world, though, I'm just looking at signs of like what the governments are doing. I think that the governments that are regulating are going to benefit in the future from it. I think that the governments that are banning are losing out on an opportunity to show themselves as innovative and to capture the value of encouraging companies to work with them, right? Since, again, we all believe that Bitcoin is going to be a major currency in the future, maybe even the currency of the future, right? And the earlier that you learn about it by regulating, the better handle you're going to have on this. And I'm actually a big believer that then the future governments are going to be mining Bitcoin. I mean, you already kind of see this in like Iran and Venezuela, where they're not playing by the rules for mining Bitcoin. They're like stealing the Bitcoin pretty much that miners are having. But in general, this is the concept, and I think that governments are gonna realize they can't stop Bitcoin, that it's just not possible, and that they're gonna essentially start mining it themselves to try to have some semblance of control there. It's ultimately gonna fail, and it's ultimately gonna be better for Bitcoin.
$400,000 Bitcoin when that happens.
Oh yeah. So what you're saying is people in Nigeria should go ahead and sign up on BitWage, get paid in Bitcoin without their employers even knowing it. Because then you can't. I mean, every time they try to ban something, what happens? It's like prohibition. The price skyrockets, more interest comes, and then people find ways around it. So you're right. Banning it never works. I don't know why they think it does.
And kind of with regulation, I'm interested to know. So when you first got started, what you were doing couldn't have been legal. Gray. It had to be some type of gray area. So did you face any early regulation when you got started? Have you faced any regulation right now? What are some of your biggest challenges, whether it's regulation or mass adoption outside the educational piece, of course?
Sure. Yeah. So what we do falls under various exemptions to money transmitter laws across the United States. We are registered voluntarily with FinCEN. And we do this. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into why we do that, but
no, I understand.
But yeah, I mean, before I started BitWage, actually regulation was one of the first things that got on my list, because I was just researching what it takes to start a company, and I saw some meetings with essentially Coinbase and a few others with FinCEN, some public hearings. So that's how I actually started going about it. So there's me and my co-founder, and even before we started, our third employee was actually a compliance officer. So we actually started from the very beginning being compliant.
And you had the Oracle background, I forgot.
Yeah, and dealing with regulation. Of course, even when you do that, you have troubles with banks, because the problem with banks is you basically have like two people that don't like you. You have the compliance department that's like, okay, you guys touch Bitcoin, and therefore we don't know if you're doing anything bad with terrorists or anything like that. We don't know if we could trust you. And then you have like the management who are like, we don't want Bitcoin to exist, so why would we support this, right? And
we understand.
And so yeah, you guys saw this. So we had a lot of problems with banks in the past, and it is an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing battle, but I think now more and more banks are understanding that this is the future. And in terms of companies go, I mean, we have a lot of transactions on our belt, a fully compliant, AML regime, and we've been around since 2014. So we're actually much lower risk than a lot of other entities in the space as a result of these things.
Nice. Yeah, that is funny, that pushback on there. It's like, why would we want to help these guys again? Doesn't make sense. I'm glad you guys got this fight. You're still keeping the fight. So a question that was just posed, and I get where they're coming from, but I love another question that was posed right after, because it kind of answers it. Sticker McTigger said, hilarious. How about you just take your paycheck and buy Bitcoin? Why do I need a service to turn my wages to a coin? And my answer was like, hey, it's the same with stocks, IRA. Some people just like it coming out of their check. From my personal opinion, I think allocating 30% of my check, not even thinking about it, would be a good reason. But even bigger, where I know an organization that uses these type of things, where they just take money out of your check and send it to whatever accounts or taxes without question, is the military. So Dr. Stephen Carter says, yo, King B, as a former military, how can I, because I was in the military as well, I'm not sure if you know, how can I get DFIs, which is basically like, the payroll service of the military, to put a portion of my salary in Bitcoin. Initially, I know they have, I forgot basically the IRA account that the military uses where they put it in there and they match it. But he's right. If you could get some of the military on this thing, I'm not sure if you have it already, but this would be huge because you're talking about being deployed for 10, 11 months. That's all people do. They're not looking at their checks anymore. So are you involved in the military? And if not, again, this would be a great one right here.
We actually have in the past, and I don't really remember if we do now, had people getting paid from the U.S. Navy. So, you know, pretty similar concept. So it's possible. It works. We know that it works, and you know, we've gotten people paid from not just the Navy but other government agencies, right? And public, you know, NGOs. We got like from the World Health Organization. We got from the UN. We got from even the IRS. You know, so. So you know it works with all these things and just so you know so people can understand. I mean, this is a DCA. It's a dollar cost average. You are doing this and you're not paying attention. I mean, people who do this, they won't pay attention for months, maybe even years. I mean, the point is to stack stats and to not think about it. Usually if you're doing this, you're also buying on the side. You're actually not, this is not usually the, you know, maybe if you're just dabbling, you're like, I only want to put in like $50 every month into this, then maybe they're not buying on the side. But usually people will do this and then they have like the pile of money that they use to be more active with. So they use that to be emotional and try to buy and sell at good prices while they're not thinking about it and still stacking stats, right? This is like the important reason. And you know, we actually had a customer come to us the other day, and he was like, oh, I can't remember where my wallet is that I've been stacking stats into for like the past like 4 years. And what we did is we actually just like did a quick scan of the blockchain to see, you know, maybe there's something that we can do, right? And we saw that he actually had it going to a custodial wallet. You can kind of tell these sort of things just by looking at the blockchain. And we let him know, you know, this is your custodial wallet that you sent to, and he found his coins, right? So you know, people forget. And we're happy to, and that's a good thing, right? Because all of a sudden you wake up 4 years later and you have a bunch of money, and we help. You know, we pride ourselves with customer support. You know, not everyone not every company you can actually get like, you know, executive members of the team like helping you, you know, with various elements.
I don't think any crypto companies you can do that any longer, but yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. And then I'm slipping around. I'm looking at the comment section. There's another good one. We'll get to in a moment, but let's get to this next story. Billionaire Bitcoin investor backs away from California governor bid. That is right. We are all excited for Chamath Palihapitiya to put his governor bid out there. And it looks like he's putting those political aspirations on hold only after 10 days announcing he will run for California state governor. Longtime Bitcoin proponent and billionaire investor Chamath Palihapitiya has backed away from the idea on the February 2nd episode of the All In podcast. Essentially, he said that because of, I think he said, you know, let's be really honest. He's being quoted as saying, he said on the podcast in response to a question about his run for governor, quote, I'm not ready to do any of that. Instead of focusing on political career, he said he would rather focus on where his business is going. Sure. That came as a shock and surprised me 10 days later, because in our comment section, everyone was excited. I was excited. And I really thought he had what it takes. So I'm questioning now, I'm wondering, did California or the federal government give Chamath that tap on the shoulder and say, hey, you might want to slow down the same way they did Facebook? Because Facebook was like, hey, we got this new coin. No, we don't.
No, you don't.
Or is this really one of those things where, you know, he may have said that I'm not a career politician, I'm not ready to do this. I'm not sure, but I always kind of lean toward the first one. And that's only because I have seen a lot of the crypto businesses in this space get leaned on a little bit by different regulators and governments. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Bitcoin, Zay?
Oh, yeah. So I think Chamath definitely got that tap on the shoulder, or at least a angry message from the DNC. It was like, hey, you can't talk about Gavin Newsom. I don't care how much he slicks his hair back. You can't talk about our governor of California. So Chamath, he had some revolutionary ideas, 0% capital gains tax, lower taxes overall. I mean, some of those ideas were great, but again, in politics, that is sort of a career move. And I would rather be a billionaire business owner than a politician any day. So hopefully he just backed down, but I think he got that tap on the shoulder, and it's kind of unfortunate because people like him are who we need to actually be our politicians. But again, that remains to be seen.
Oh, people are not happy in the comments. Antonio says Chamath played us. Centralized says Chamath is a salesman, just like the rest of them. Salahaddin El Rahim said, "Oh no, Cali is done. LOL." Fumble the face. Someone threatened his puppy. And Crypto Rasputin said, Chamath knows it's an uphill battle. No real support from Republicans, Democrats. Establishment is solid for Newsom. So with all that, my question to you, CEO, founder, again, of a Bitcoin, of the big Bitcoin company on its way to becoming even bigger. And I know we got your feedback on the regulatory environment, but I guess places like New York City, where you have to have all these special licenses, or even politicians and regulators now starting to come out. The mayor of Miami came out and spoke about Bitcoin, put the white paper out there. I don't know. What are your thoughts when it comes to that C-suite, when it comes to that next level of the executive side and what they're facing into crypto?
So I think it's obviously a good thing, right? I think that when you get the buy-in from the institutions, that's what they are. This is when you see that there's going to be really, really massive adoption, right? I mean, when you think about who holds the lion's share of dollars or who holds the lion's share of treasury bonds, it's really going to be these institutions, right, that are doing that are holding, and so this is a good thing that this is happening. Of course, you don't want it to happen too early because then the everyday person kind of loses out, right? We want the everyday person to understand and to at least gain a little bit exposure, right? Maybe get 5% of their wage in Bitcoin, so that when it actually hits, I mean, these guys are more like visionaries. These are the beginning. This is just the very beginning of this stuff, and you can see that with just a couple companies, some hedge funds, and one city government just thinking about doing it, that it's causing the price of Bitcoin to really excel. And so when this gets on a much larger scale, this is kind of like the dream of Bitcoin finally being realized. Of course, we want. I think that the most important thing, though, before this happens, is for people to start running nodes. I think this is the most important thing to make sure that Bitcoin remains self-sovereign and democratic, right? That people start running nodes. And the importance of running a node is basically when the corporations and the other entities come into Bitcoin and they start trying to control Bitcoin, the thing that's going to stop them is everyday people running nodes. That is your vote. That is your way to vote against the system. And I think that as long as that's healthy, as long as people are doing this, then this is going to be a good thing for Bitcoin. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Jack Dorsey just presented that he's running a node today.
Nice.
So, and I actually, in the second book, the first part of the first chapter for how to run a node, because that's very important to me too.
On time.
Hey, like he said, that the corporations are going to show up, and King says it all the time. They're going to try and change the narrative. They're going to try and say, hey, we're the big dogs in this industry, and the only way that can stop and be decentralized if everybody's running a node. So definitely do that.
Alec G said, run them nodes. I remember I was going to ask you, and I momentarily forgot when I was reading comments, and actually I think Too Rich to Miss brought it back up. And again, that was actually the real answer, the best answer to the question, why would I want to take it out of my paycheck instead of buying it direct? And that's the dollar cost averaging. I'm glad you have brought that up. It's something Bitcoin Zay preaches all the time. I mean, when I first started in crypto, he was like, whatever you got, just every week, every month, whatever you decide to do it like that. So I'm glad you brought that up again. For those who don't know, that dollar cost average, if you allocate a certain amount of your check to Bitcoin, you're not looking at it anymore. You're not buying it at its high. You're not buying it at its low. You're just averaging the amount with what you have. So I'm glad you brought that up, and that is a great reason to use BitWage as well. And speaking of that, go ahead.
I want to touch on that point. We created a dollar cost average calculator called Bitcoin dollar cost average.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's free. You can just use it, whatever. So when we were using it, and let's say you actually decided to get your paycheck, $250 every paycheck, and you did that at the very top of the bubble in 2017. From then until maybe like a month ago, you would have accumulated 2.5 Bitcoin, having spent $18,500. So to take that into perspective, if you had bought emotionally at the very top of Bitcoin 2017, when Bitcoin was 20,000, you would have had less than a Bitcoin. So if you bought at the exact worst time, right, versus starting your paycheck getting paid in at the exact worst time, you would have 2.5 times more Bitcoin today than you would have then. And that's sort of the value of this, is if you don't have to think about buying at the top or buying at the bottom. It just happens over time, and you know, as long as the price is going up, you're better off for it.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, for anybody watching, I put together a dollar cost average worksheet just like that, from the top of 2017 to December 31st, 2020, with $50 a week. I feel like we're like copying off each other's notes or something like that. But literally, yeah, I'm gonna put that link in the chat so people can see that, yes, with the example I had, it's the same thing. It's just $50 a week instead. But again, you would have been able to buy a whole Bitcoin for $7,000. You would have made 300% ROI, and you never have to worry about the price. And we're talking about $50 a week, which most people can afford easily. So yeah, I'm glad you said that as well. Dollar cost average is the best strategy easily over anything else.
Yeah, we need to make that into one of those, like, I forgot the little charts, the illustrative charts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, Zay? Where you can have like $50. Yeah, it had a pipeline, like the little illustration. I forgot the name of it. But yeah. So people are asking, okay, we get it. This is good stuff. How does BitWage makes his money then? Where are the fees coming from?
Yeah, so if you go to bitwage.com/pricing, you can see that there.
There you go, folks. Bitwage.com/pricing. I'll put that in. Oh, yeah. All right. And last but certainly not least, hacker steals $2.8 million from Yearn.finance, proving blockchain's hackable. Oh my goodness.
Someone actually wrote that?
That's what I said.
Somebody wrote those stupid words.
Listen, I'm glad you pulled it out of me. Like, when I read it earlier, I had to literally walk away for a few minutes because my initial thought, which I'm trying to get better at, I'm like, let me not slaughter the author of this article live. Like, that's what I thought to myself when I first read that line. Yeah, Yearn Finance was left troubled on Thursday evening as an unidentified individual stole $2.8 million from a shared digital vault on the investment website. The hacker exploited the vault using Aave, a platform that allows users to make flash loans to borrow and lend money without collateral. Now, when I first saw this, as I told Bitcoin Zay, I said, whoo, because about 7 or 8 days ago, I started targeting Yearn Finance as a possible altcoin. I saw they just pumped a couple of days ago. And like many other pumps, a lot of people might not know this because you haven't seen the first bull cycle, the first few bull cycles. But usually when some of these off altcoins pump, there's a hack coming down the pipeline that
it's like 100% chance,
right? Especially, well, I'll say this: if it pumps, someone tried to hack it. Now they don't get hacked; they didn't get hacked. That doesn't mean somebody tried. So it looks like Yearn was actually hacked. But I know Bitcoin Zay is going to talk about the actual hack. Before we get into that, I just want to point out one of the headlines here: proving blockchain's hackable. And the reason, I'm not just picking on this guy to use this story. This is the top story that pops up, or this is the top site that pops up when you look for this story, at least when I did earlier. And again, one of their main things is saying that, hey, blockchain is hackable. You can see it here is actual headline right here. This is when you know someone doesn't know they're talking about cryptocurrency or fintech or blockchain technology. Yearn Finance's blockchain may be hackable, but that doesn't mean Bitcoin's blockchain is hackable. And we know that because it hasn't happened, people. No one's there to claim the Satoshi wallet. It just hasn't happened. So again, this is what we mean by it's important to see some of these articles, it's important to see some of these narratives, because I can pretty much guarantee if a mainstream news service picks this up, that's what they're running with. Blockchain is now hackable, people. Just like the other day, the Bitcoin blockchain was officially hacked, right? Like, this is what they will run with. So it's crazy to see this. I can't believe this guy actually typed this out. Kyle, you got to go back to the blockchain forum and read a little bit more about blockchains, my man. But what is going on with this Yearn hack? How did it happen? Can they recover from this, or is this the end of Yearn?
Yeah, I think Yearn can definitely recover simply because there were over $120 million stolen via 15 DeFi hacks in 2020. And a lot of these exchanges or protocols actually rebounded afterwards simply because of the blockchain. They could recover the funds or they could find out who did it. I do think Yearn will bounce back. Unfortunately, like most other DeFi projects, they are not completely built out. So there are people who can hack in and do things such as here, where they basically, where Yearn, you deposit funds, it's a collective digital pools. Unfortunately, somebody found an exploit. You could drain that pool using an AAVE slash flash loan, enabling them to drain the vault, and then they were officially stopped later. They actually showed the vault of sustaining a 1,059% loss. Oh man! So of course we've seen this before. We've seen it with other DeFi projects. I think DeFi is promising from the point of if a decentralized finance system works, then we don't have to use third parties at all. The problem is you have to trust the code and the software. User error, bugs, hacks, all of these things happen with new technology. So unfortunately, this happened. But I think Yearn can bounce back stronger than ever, simply because they found the exploit and hopefully they can fix it. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, so this is something that I think about quite often, actually, which is especially with like the true DeFi, right, the decentralized DeFi, which is what have they achieved? They achieved a way to reduce credit risk, right? That's like their whole tout. Like, you should use us because we've solved credit risk. What they don't tell you is that we've actually traded credit risk with code risk. You still trust. You're no longer trusting someone to hold your money. You're no longer trusting someone to correctly assess credit risk, but you're trusting the coders to build the code right. And there's three things that we kind of see happen when the code is not done right. One is that the coder themselves are a scammer. Two is that the coder is not scammer, but he's incompetent. And the subsets of the incompetence is basically, one, you have a person who is actively trying to steal the funds and then successes. And then the other is actually you have someone who isn't even trying to actively steal the funds, but does something that hurts the system. So the example there is like the parody wallet, which there was some developer who was like, oh, I'm going to play around. I accidentally deleted a library and now millions of dollars are inaccessible to anyone, right? And so this is the risk that you're taking with DeFi. And it's an important one. And even though it's decentralized, it's still technically you're not owning the coins with your keys. You're owning a right to your coins with your keys. A different entity, an oracle or something is actually like controlling the direct keys, right? And so it's important that you don't put like your entire savings. It's not, if you are betting big on crypto, then you only want a small portion on it, the same portion probably that you would want on any sort of centralized system, because the risk is different, but it's still there. That's my thought.
Oh yeah, definitely risky. And just because you trade one risk for another doesn't make it less risky. So you are correct. And these companies use very good word salads when they describe it, so that most people read it and they're like, oh, that's great. It does solve our credit risk. But of course, code is everything. Code is law. If the code is flawed, everything that comes with it will be as well. So you definitely have to manage your risk there.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, last couple quick ones and some comments. First and foremost, everybody's definitely impressed. I think the same. Alec G, our in-house moderator, said Jonathan seems like a solid dude. Awesome conversation, gents. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it as well. Timothy Grisby also said such a great interview. Thanks for bringing Jonathan on. So people truly appreciate you spreading the information you have about your company, BitWage, and what it can do for people. And for those who just asked about pricing, I just looked at it as well. It's solid, people. It works. So it's a good deal there as well. And with that being said, competitors, who are your competitors?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can think about it from the perspective of like in the crypto industry, who are our competitors.
Yeah, specifically like competitors in the crypto industry and what they may be doing or what you're doing different from them.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, someone mentioned Strike, right? And then I'd say that no one's really competing on the worker product besides Strike. But Strike also doesn't have a company product. There's a company product. BitPay has a company product competitor as well. So, I mean, I can go on and on, but basically it comes down to like, you know, our system is more automated. We're not custodying things. We're way more flexible than these guys in terms of your ability to not have to do anything once you set up, to be able to have different ways to fund and different ways to send money, and to change your percentages of how you receive between each payroll. You know, we've got better limits. We've got better, you know, compared to BitPay, there's no automated like sign up process. You have to like reach out to sales. You can just sign up to us. And we have, you know, pretty excellent customer support as well. What else?
Somebody actually, just to piggyback, somebody just said that PFC Wells is going on track. He's another guy in the crypto space, growing as well, just like us. He's been around for a few years now. He said, love your help desk, Jonathan. They're great with reply time and good help. So again, thanks for being here. Anything you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to learn more about BitWage, you can just go to www.bitwage.com or follow our Twitter at BitWage. Myself, I tweet a little bit at John Chest, and I'm on Clubhouse at Jonathan Chester as well. I try to hop on for a few hours, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and talk there. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Have it. As always, thanks again, Jonathan, for being here. Bitcoin Day, what do you have?
Oh, yeah. Just want to say thank you for coming, Jonathan. Glad you could present BitWage, which I think is one of the best companies in the Bitcoin space. And I think everybody can use it and will use it that was watching this show. So thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate it.
Same. I want to piggyback on that. Like I said, I saw Kim was using it. Bitcoin Day talked about you before. When it comes, the reason why I asked about competitors is because when it comes to competition, I don't even know you have any. Like I heard of Strike.
I haven't seen it.
That's why I seriously wouldn't even know from him, because like I heard of Strike, not using that. BitPay, but they kind of made, you know, they drew the line in the sand years ago when they were like, we're not doing retail, we're only doing credit. Oh, we're doing retail again. Oh no, we're only doing institutions. So who knows who they're even working with anymore. So with that being said, no, I definitely support you all too. And hand clap for BitWage. And Jonathan, again, thank you for being here. We hope have you back.
Thank you for coming, Jonathan. Appreciate you, brother.
Guys. Thanks. Happy to be here.
All right. Have a happy Friday, and we will see you all next week with some more crypto news. And make sure you're checking out our Twitter. We have a very special announcement of some new shows we will also be doing on Talk Shop Live. And last but not least, make sure you smash that like and share so everyone can find out about BitWage and start to get paid in crypto. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.